All right, done. Okay, shall we start?
Yep, you're ready.
Okay, great,
Am
perfect.
I
So,
am I audible, Vinod? Am I audible?
yes, you are, and visible. Just want to make sure you can see the timer.
Uh, I don't see it here now, but should be fine. Anyway, you'll mute me, so it's all right.
No,
No,
you.
Robin, it's
Yeah, now I
the
can see.
one
Now I
with
can see
white.
the.
Yeah,
Now I
fine.
can see. Yeah, now I
Yeah.
can see. Yes.
Okay, all right. So let's kick things off. Opening the debate for Take Debate is Toastmaster Robin. Your 3 minutes starts now.
Okay. Good evening to all. Motion on the floor is current pandemic is blessing in disguise. Our team supports the motion. Blessing in disguise, as defined by Cambridge Dictionary, something that seems bad or unlucky at first, but results in something good happening later. All kinds of businesses are creatively learning to adapt to coronavirus. It has paved the way for businesses to rely and tap more of local talent and labor due to the constraints in importing them. Some new business models have emerged for industries like cleaning services, delivery services, used cars, groceries, meal prep, etc. We have also seen some creative online businesses like tutoring business, telehealth services, behavioral health, and these are here to stay even after pandemic is over. Webinars, live streaming, and video conferencing have accounted for more than 100% growth and is projected to grow to $13 billion industry by 2027. 62 million people have downloaded webinar applications in March 2020 alone, indicating the new way of connecting and doing business, which is again here to stay. Figures courtesy TechCrunch.com, an authority on tech statistics across the world. Events virtualization is a major trend in the market as conventions, corporate events, trade shows, fairs, conferences turn into virtual events. New revenue streams are emerging, adding to the demand growth. The current Indian Premier League is a sparkling example of virtual event which is phenomenally successful, watched by billions of fans worldwide. International Convention of Toastmaster, which was beamed live to 66,000 people free of cost, is another shining example we can relate to. Imagine the number of new members we would have connected to as compared to 3,000 attendees last year. Myself and many others being here in this debate is a good example of the power of digital and virtual transformation. The virtual event models can be replicated anywhere and which also overcomes a lot of bottlenecks of logistics. 72% of companies plan to shift portion of their staff permanently to work from home model to enhance real world operational abilities of remote teams and thereby improve efficiency and reduce overheads massively. These figures are based on reports by Report Linker, a worldwide research agency. Another major positive has been the impact of pandemic on atmospheric pollution. An extensive report by Chemistry and Engineering News, the most comprehensive and authoritative news agency based in USA, states that fossil fuel CO2 emissions seems to have fallen at the same rate as traffic, about 80%. Nitrogen, NO2, 45 to 50%. The prolonged lockdowns have also dramatically transformed consumer buying, making them more health conscious and socially conscious. Health concerns and need to build immunity have led consumers to buy home sanitation and immunity boosting products. Social consciousness has seen a major increase in their philanthropic urge across the world. Some other
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Robin. You've been muted. All right, let's give TTM Soumya 30 seconds. And while she makes her notes, I just want to clarify, Toastmaster Anuradha, the timing would be the green at 2:30, yellow
Oh,
at 2:40.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so just wanted to clarify that.
Isn't it 2.5, and 3?
What we thought we'll do today is just, because it's not clear right now what the actually. Let me just check the rules from while.
I think the division level is following 2.5. That's what I was told.
Oh,
Anyway,
division.
check and let me know. Check and let me
Yeah,
know.
just apologies for that. I should have clarified this. Oh, come on, open. Yeah, okay. So we'll go with that actually. So it's green at 2 minutes, yellow at 2 minutes, 30 seconds, red at 3 minutes, and then you have 10 seconds of grace
Yeah.
after.
Okay,
So
fine.
we'll follow that.
Yeah.
Apologies for the confusion. All right. So now let's welcome the opening speaker for the team that's speaking against the motion. It is Gavalier Sanika. Can I ask you to unmute yourself? I think your video is it only for me that the video is frozen?
No, no, no. Her video is stuck. Sanika? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
We can
How
hear
about
you.
now?
Oh no, you have a connectivity issue. So what you say is not going to come through clearly. Is it better? Can you just confirm? Can you see the timer?
Appa? Jawab.
Sanika, can you join and leave immediately? I mean,
I
can
can
you
see the
leave and join immediately?
Yes, ma'am. Give me a second.
Yeah, sure.
All right, Sanika is back.
Can you hear me right now
Yes, we can.
and see me?
For the
Can
most
you
part,
see me, sir?
we can see you. Yes.
Be a little loud, Sanika.
Okay.
All right, Sanika,
Ma'am,
can
is
you
it
see?
better?
It is. It is. You're very audible. Can you see the timer?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. So, Cavalier Sanika, your 3 minutes starts now.
Good evening, dear adjudicators, worthy opponents, and distinguished guests. The motion put forth on the floor is that COVID-19 is a blessing in disguise, and our team strongly disagrees. Our first point is that due to COVID-19, the unemployment rates of the world have spiked. In fact, OECD unemployment rates have 20 after the COVID-19 pandemic hit the labor market of the world. In 3 months of COVID 19, unemployment rates in America have gone higher than they did within 2 years of the Great Depression. Secondly, the global economy has plummeted down like a frog falling off the edge of a cliff. In an environment of high uncertainty and uneven impacts, let us compare the production rate between December 2020 and March 2020, which together account for 90% of the world's manufacturing value added. The UNIDO figures show that more than half of these countries experienced a protracted economic downturn over the periods of January to March and April to October of the year 2020. Thirdly, our education system has been impacted drastically, and distance learning has made it harder for students and teachers alike to communicate and learn effectively. Also, not everyone in the world is equipped with personal devices or have access to the internet. As per editing.com, 364 million young adults and children between the ages 5 and 18 across the globe do not have access to distance learning and cannot attend formal education. Also, students, which which can impact their learning styles of students. Unfortunately, students who are practical learners complete disadvantage during the distance learning. To sum it all up, this is what you call a blessing in disguise? Dear adjudicator, for all these reasons, I urge you to side with team opposition and reject the motion that COVID-19 is a blessing in disguise. Over to the moderator.
Thank you so much, Gavli Sanika. Let's give DTM Samia 30 seconds. And while that's happening, Gavli Shreya, can I ask you to unmute yourself? And we'll just test your audio.
Am
Can
I
you hear?
audible?
Yes, perfectly. Can you see the timer?
Yes, I can see the timer.
Okay, perfect. All right, so just give it a few seconds and then we'll go ahead and start. All right, let's go ahead and start. So, Gavli Shreya, your 3 minutes to perform the rebuttal starts now.
Good afternoon, everybody. Our worthy opponents today shared some of their arguments with us. But alas, those arguments have more holes in them than the plot of a cheesy teen movie. They started off by mentioning that businesses are thriving creatively in the pandemic. But that is far from the truth. So many businesses have had to shut down and are unable to switch to an online platform. Moreover, many more have had to downsize, drastically increasing unemployment and crashing economies. Secondly, they mentioned online events leading to greater connectivity. But these online events are riddled with so many technical issues that entire events are put on hold, as we had just witnessed earlier. And with online meetings, the health of eyes and ears are at high risk. Thirdly, our opponents mentioned the environment improving drastically, to which I ask, how? Ever since COVID, in an article by The Verge, in Wuhan, where it all started, the daily output of medical waste at its peak reached 240 metric tons. That's about as large as a blue whale, the biggest mammal on this earth. Now, since this waste is both mostly non-biodegradable and contaminated, much of it has to be incinerated, therefore contributing to air pollution. So the notion that the pandemic has only impacted the environment positively is merely that, a horribly misinformed notion. And with that being said, I rest my case. COVID-19 a blessing in disguise? More like far from it. And thus, I urge you to side with the opposition. Over to you, moderator.
Thank you so much, Gavli Shreya. Let's give DTM Samia 30 seconds. In the meantime, Hashim, can I just get you to unmute yourself and let's just check if you're audible?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes. Although, is your video switched off? Or?
My video is off. It's not. I have a bit of a bandwidth issue.
Okay, no issues. Hopefully that will not be the case tomorrow.
Yep.
All right. To perform the rebuttal for the team speaking for the motion, Toastmaster Hashim, your 3 minutes starts now.
The current pandemic is a blessing in disguise, and our team firmly stands for the motion. Now, our worthy opponents have tried their best to pull wool over our eyes, but in reality, their logic is as disguised as the blessing of the current pandemic itself. She first pointed out by talking about the 3-month unemployment rates that have happened. True, there have been some harms which have been caused by this COVID-19. However, the topic very clearly says blessing in disguise, which is why my opener had very clearly pointed out all the new streams of revenue, all the new streams of economy, all the new business enterprises that have come up because of this current pandemic. We have been forced to look at alternative methods, and that has provided alternative jobs. And the unemployment rate, which has gone down, will definitely come up because of these additional enterprises which have come out. So that worth is just a temporary pain, and this blessing in disguise will indeed get us over it. The second point that she brought about was sort of an extension of the first point itself, where she mentioned about the global economy rate falling, and she mentioned that it is higher um, than the Great Recession. Just like the Great Recession or the economic plague that has come before it, the economy has always gone down and bounced back up. What is important is that us as humans and as leaders of this economy have taken the means in order to be able to raise this economy. This has very clearly been articulated by the new streams of methodology, like, for example, the growth of Zoom, which has enabled us to have such a large scale economic growth, 13 billion in the coming years. That is the expected growth rate of. So this global economy stand that you see is just a temporary phase, and indeed, these alternative methods are a blessing in disguise. Being a student, she very well articulated about the education system. The very fact that you are able to conduct your schools sitting at home in the safety of your homes proves that this pandemic has been a blessing in disguise. You have the option of joining schools all across the world who offer online education. Now, you're not limited to what is available to you in this nitty-gritty small place of Dubai or Sharjah or wherever you're from. You have the option of taking education from any place in the world. So the options moving forward are innumerable. So friends, we need to look beyond the current situation that we see, and which is why the topic very clearly articulates that it is a blessing indeed in disguise. So let's remove that disguise and see the blessing that is there and move forward with hope that we will be able to overcome this current pandemic and make use of all these blessings in disguise. That is why my team and I firmly stand for the motion that the current pandemic is indeed a blessing in disguise. Let's look at the positives. Back to the moderator.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Hashim. Let's give 30 seconds. And while we wait, Cavalier Hema. Yeah, I
Yes.
can see you've unmuted yourself. Can you see the timer?
Yes, I can.
You're loud and clear as well. So we'll give it 10 seconds and then we'll start.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, let's go ahead and do this. Cavalier Hema, to
Yes.
close out the debate for the team that's speaking against the motion, your 2 minutes starts now.
Good evening, your adjudicators, moderators, and my worthy opponents. My team and I are strongly against the motion that the current pandemic is a blessing in disguise. Vindicating our stance on the same, my opening speaker, Sanika, gave you 3 important reasons to reject the motion. Point number 1, the unemployment rates of the world have spiked. People are losing jobs left, right, and center. Point number 2, the global economy has plummeted down drastically in an environment high of uncertainty and uneven points. And point number 3, distance learning has made it harder for students and teachers alike to communicate and learn effectively. Our rebuttal speaker, Shreya, also stated the following points as the rebuttals. Point number 1, business had to shut down, which has totally crushed the economy. And point number 2, there has been a surge in the medical waste reduced, which has to be burned up by calling pollution. Dearest audience, if the motion is passed, you will be implying that 1, a staggering loss of jobs is a blessing in disguise. 2, the global economy to plumb down like a rock falling off the edge of a cliff is a blessing in disguise. And 3, the crumbling of the education system is a blessing in disguise. Need I say more? Ladies and gentlemen, passing the motion or even allowing the debate to continue is a crime against all those who have suffered from COVID-19. Thus, I strongly urge you to side with team opposition and reject this motion. I rest my case. Over to the moderator.
Thank you so much, Cavalier Hema. Let's give DTM Samya 30 seconds. And welcome DTM Sandeep.
Thank you.
All right, and while we wait, Toastmaster Samira, can you unmute your mic?
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Can you see the timer?
Yes.
All right, let's give it a few seconds and then we'll go ahead and start. Okay, I think DTM Soumya is done making her notes. So Toastmaster Samira, to close out this debate, speaking for the motion, your 2 minutes starts now.
Good evening, members of the House. Do you still need to be convinced that the current pandemic is a blessing in disguise? I don't think so. Our team supports the motion on floor today, which is the current pandemic is a blessing in disguise. Our opening speaker, DTM Robin, mentioned the various business models that has emerged and adapted to the current situation, such as delivery services, online education, health services, etc. He described the growth in webinar and video conferencing platform that has experienced exponential growth. He also spoke about the work from home option that companies are favoring to reduce overheads and increase efficiency. He also quoted a report stating the massive reduction in percentage of CO2 and NO2 due to the implementation of lockdowns globally. Moreover, people have become more health conscious than ever before. He quoted examples of the Indian Premier League, Toastmasters Convention, and the current debate to show the digital transformation of the world. All the data was well supported by citing credible journals, articles, and research associations. Our rebuttal speaker, DTM Hashim, started by keenly observing the disguised arguments of the opposition team. He has accepted that there is unemployment, but this is a blessing in disguise. He spoke about the alternative opportunities that business enterprises have come up with. Regarding the fall of global economy, he clarified that economy keeps going up and down. He quoted the growth of Zoom. Regarding the continuation of education, he shared that all students are now studying from home safely. We need to look beyond the current situation. Let's see the blessing and move forward. I request all the members of the House to support us in favor of the motion that the current pandemic is a blessing in disguise. Over to the moderator.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Samira. Let's give DTM Soumya 30 seconds.
Vinod, I'm done. I don't need any more time.
Okay, perfect. So first off, maybe we'll give a big hand to all of the debaters, especially the Gavaliers. All right, DTM Soumya, do you want to go ahead?
I'm going to tell you very briefly. Let me start with the closing because that was the easiest. I have absolutely no recommendations for the closing speakers. They were completely on the dot, thorough, everything. Only one point I would like to say is at least pick up one statistic to highlight. Say, for example, Samina, from Robin's opening, I would have picked up the one on fossil fuels and emphasized on that. Okay, and I would have brought that in the end. So that I leave a lasting impact while winding up. And I think it was, who did the closing? Hema, I would have picked up the unemployment and the global economy statistic which she gave. Actually at that point I lost connection, but she did give a statistic. I would have picked on that and ended it on that note. A number always creates an impact. Okay, so when you're closing, definitely pick up two numbers. And Samira, since you're doing it in a Toastmaster environment, the aspect about this IPL and the TMI convention, even if it didn't have a statistic, you should have slowed down on that. It just went very fast, so there, emphasize a few points which you want to highlight. Okay, coming to the opening, both the openings, Robin, I felt that there was too much emphasis only on business and corporate. Okay, you should have taken, I felt you could have taken other aspects of the pandemic. You didn't talk about the individual at all. You didn't talk about communication, families, that aspect you could have brought in. And you could have clubbed some of your points because they were all around business. Another thing I want you to do is bring in a little more statistics and examples. Say, for example, when you said that business models are emerging, you said online models are emerging, business models are emerging, there was virtual models are emerging. So though you kept repeating this, there was no concrete example for that point. Okay, I would have liked you to say that. And this health tutorial there, definitely a statistic would have helped, saying that so many numbers have opened up, or something like that. And see, you cannot dispute that the pandemic is creating havoc. So that way you don't have a strong case, which means you need to bring a comparison. So even if there have been so many losses, the number of jobs created, that is so much, So if you yourself bring in a comparison, it makes the opponent argument weaker. That's what I felt. And I think your very good point was a fossil fuel, because you had a number that was very impactful and it was a distinct point. So I think just bring in the education angle, which you didn't touch upon, the social angle, again, a little more stress on that. Club your business points with examples. That was what I had for Robin. Sanika, I think Sanika, you did a good job, but I think one point, I don't know whether I missed it and you said it, you could have brought in the burden on the health sector. I don't know whether you mentioned it. That is a major point. So I wish you had brought that in, about how much of a burden it is for the health sector. Okay. Again, where you spoke about the internet facilities and the education system, there you could have brought in some research. When I say research, it's too early for research, for some statistic that you have so many kids. You did mention that not everyone can afford internet and something. So there a number would have really helped. You have so many kids who can't afford a basic education. So where are they going to be able to get a internet facility or laptop or whatever, So that I feel would have really added value to your argument. Coming to the rebuttal, who did it first? Hashim? No.
No,
Hashim, sorry, who did
it was Shreya who did the.
Yeah, Shreya, this thing, I liked your point about the medical waste. Very good, very well done. Where you countered the I think atmospheric pollution and fossil fuel thing reduction. You countered it very well with your medical waste. But even for you, I feel if you have some statistics ready with you, you know that this is what they're going to say. So keep some stats ready with you to say that this is the effect, this is the impact. That's what I would think. And again, when you're talking about loss of, you had an opener who had figures. So the loss of revenue and employment, those figures you could have brought it back to counter whatever Robin said. Okay, Hashim, again, you spoke about the unemployment is going to be one of the major points for the opposition. So you will have to come up with some very, very strong counter arguments. You did say new alternate jobs are coming up, enterprises are there, but it didn't sound very impactful. I would have wanted some more strength there. You're tackling the economic recession, that was good. Again, you could have brought in about when at an earlier time, this is the economic cycle, you do have ups and downs, and the recession, that is a part of the economic cycle, and the world has always recovered from it like it did in this year. Give an example of a previous occasion where, not by pandemic, but the economic cycle brings about this depression and recession, and the world has learned to cope with it. So that you could have brought out. Education, again, I would have wanted an example. You cannot just say sitting at home you have access to education across the world. That's a very theoretical answer. It needs some more validation. That way I feel you need to do a little research and keep these points ready. I don't know how much justice I've done to this, but this is what I could think of.
Definitely very, very helpful. Thank you so much, DTM Soumya. I think Robin had to step out for the other meeting. I'm sure he said he'll probably be back in. Okay, so he's still here.
Yeah, Vinod, I'm just leaving now. So once I'm through with the intro of the keynote speaker, I'll return. But you continue. I've given the script to Samira, so she can try and read out the opening speaker thing. And by the time I'll try and come back, so at least I hear the inputs from Soumya if she's giving the inputs. I'll try and be back after that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, take care. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks, Robin. Just want to first check with our Cavaliers. Are you all in a hurry to leave? Can we wait for about 10 minutes to let Robin come back? This is to everybody in the meeting, actually, not just the Cavaliers.
I think I speak on behalf of Malavika and Sakshi when I say we can wait for a few minutes.
Okay, that's great. DTM Soumya, DTM
I think
Sandeep. Sorry.
Sanika needs to leave at around 5:30, but other than that, we're free, I guess.
Okay.
Other than that,
I'm sure we'll be done by then. If anyone does need to leave, I mean, especially if you're ones who've been in the first debate, by all means, just do drop in a message so that we can just say thank you as well. One thing that we did do the last time around, which we found very helpful, was we asked the Cavaliers also for their input as to what you think we can add in to as the team that's speaking for the motion. So,
Sanika and Shreya, can you give your inputs as to how they can add something to what they have already said? So you can give them your points.
This is
In the
Shreya.
sense,
As
not your
DTM
points.
Samya had. What?
go ahead, Shreya.
They could have mentioned some gone a bit deeper into the individual. There were many valid points there as to students having a higher amount of resources to educate themselves with, and people having the time to spend time with their families and develop new hobbies and skills. Those were very valid points in favor of for the pandemic being a blessing in disguise that I feel weren't picked up on. So a lot of points relating to the individual. So if that could also be integrated, it would be a bulletproof debate, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I felt the arguments were too generic. There were no specifics anywhere. Say, for example, Hashim could have also brought in that when we say it's a blessing in disguise, it is opening up opportunities to explore so many things. Like, even for a developing country which lacks resources, this is something which I'm just saying, you do have the option now of a community kind of learning with it's not that everyone has to have a laptop, or as that girl said, how many of you can afford. But even if you have an organization sponsoring one laptop or something, you can educate a whole village. Something it is opening. This is just off my head. I'm just saying, but you can explore along those lines.
I have a question. Can we quote personal examples for debates?
Samira, just today morning yesterday in a briefing, Sujit said that according to the TMI debate rules, personal examples are not taken as fact. He said this, so I don't know the rules. I haven't seen it, but they just gave me a different.
I don't know the rules either.
Point, that's
Okay.
all.
Okay.
Because I would have thought to give a personal example to refute something was valid. That's what I thought. But this is what he said yesterday, that as per the TMI debating rules, a personal example cannot be taken as fact.
Both for opening and rebuttal?
That's what he just said it in general. I didn't ask him further. Like, suppose I were to say something, how does it how can you even prove that it's true? Suppose I say I lost my job, for example. Okay, how do you know? How is it a fact? I could be lying. So from that point of view, yes, maybe you can't validate it.
That makes sense. Okay, thanks.
So just one other, and I remember, I think it was, I'm not sure if it was DTM Soumya or DTM Sandeep who actually pointed this out during your education session. When you quote a personal example, especially if it's the opening speaker who's actually doing it, it can very easily be turned around against you, and you can ask the question, how is that representative of the general population?
You might think a lot about yourself, but your example doesn't prove a point. If I want to be nasty, I can say maybe you think too much of yourself, but then it doesn't mean it happened to you. It's an example for the world. You can do that.
Okay. Any other points?
No, I seriously felt there was a lack of specific information. We do need a proper study how it has affected this place, how it has affected that sector. Like these kids came and said that they are definitely going to talk about unemployment. They're definitely loss of jobs. They're going to talk about the suffering economies. So the only way probably you can counter it is by saying that economics has shown that this is a part of the economic cycle. It has happened in the past, and this time it has been caused by the pandemic. But something like that, you can counter it. Or when you're talking about, say, like Robin had that figure on 62 million webinars, something he had that, na? See, just because people have taken subscription doesn't mean anything. What is the impact of that? You'll have to have some positive statistics to say that because of this, this has happened. So many more people are able to access education because of it. That is a positive. So that kind of statistic, if we can find out, it'll be good.
True. Thank you so much. Sanika, were you raising your hand?
Yes, I just have one more suggestion for Toastmaster Robin, sir. I think he went a bit over time, limit if I'm not mistaken. Maybe
He
if you
did.
could cut down on your speech, that would really help with the time management.
Yes, we've definitely pointed that out to him, so he will definitely be cutting down on his content. All right. One thing I do want to point out to Samira, it would be good to not call him DTM Hashim and DTM Robin. Avoid that. We're meant to all be Toastmasters. No titles.
Okay, just Toastmaster.
Yeah.
I don't think you even need to say Toastmaster. What is
Yeah.
the harm to say my teammate Robin said this?
Yeah. Perfect.
And
Fewer words.
yeah. As my opener Robin said, as Hashim said.
Is it
Okay.
to shorten or is it to not take the titles?
Actually, both.
See, saying Toastmaster, we all know we are Toastmasters, so that I don't think can be objectionable. But you can just, in fact, I feel when you don't do the Toastmaster business, it shows a greater teamwork, bonding within the team. It sounds too formal when you keep saying Toastmasters, Toastmaster. No? As my opener Robin said, it's a kind of disguised familiarity comes out.
Will it be considered as disrespectful? She's calling the immediate past district director by name.
She's calling her teammate. They work so much together. So that's why now they're on first name basis. I don't think it should.
You can definitely throw your weight around as a district champ, so I don't think that's a concern. All right. Robin has actually said he would take a few more minutes. So what do you want to do, Samira? Do you actually want to use his opening script? Okay, sorry. Hema, you have a suggestion.
Yes, sir. My suggestion was for Toastmaster Robin, sir. I felt he had too many points in his speech which he couldn't elaborate properly, and he was going too fast, so he couldn't emphasize on the points he wanted to. There was too much in his speech to add. So probably if he would cut down a little bit on like unnecessary stuff, so he'd probably emphasize on more points and give out more than needed.
Sure, I think we'll
That's
definitely be
why
doing that.
they were revolving around the same point, I felt. Though he made it appear like different points, they seemed to be around the same.
Okay.
I had one question for Sanika, if I may.
Go ahead, Hashim.
Yeah. So Sanika, you touched mainly on unemployment, economy, and both are related, and education. You didn't go towards loss of life or depressions or even take any one particular sector like tourism. Was there a reason why you kept that out of your opening speech?
Not exactly. I think we just forgot. We'll make sure we cover all points next time.
Okay, all right. I thought maybe there was a reason why you left out loss of life, because that's probably the first
Actually,
thing that
that's
we would think of.
very valid. The
And
hospitality.
I had a number ready for. And I
Yeah,
had a number ready for that.
the hospitality, tourism,
Hospitality tourism has taken a big hit.
and the
Yeah.
airline sector. Yes, that
Yeah.
is. You people are
All
speaking
right.
for
All right.
people in the finals, right?
we are speaking for in the area for contest.
Yeah,
Yes.
see, yours is tough to do a rebuttal, but definitely the airline industry, the tourism, hospitality will come up in a big way. Uh, in fact, I
Yeah, the
think
unemployment, particularly in tourism
Other than
and airlines, is huge.
yeah.
Um, in India, if you take an
that
example of India, there's big loss of life and danger to people. So,
Yeah, the as I said, this pressure on the health sector. Okay,
hmm.
in fact, there was a statistic on how many aircraft had to be laid off because of non-flying. There is no place to park them, and when they are the maintenance on those aircraft is very high. So there was a big article on that a couple of months back. That would that's why the airline industry is not just by people not traveling. Even this maintenance of aircraft is hitting them in a big way. The education also will come up. The kids are not getting to uh, attend school. It's a loss of childhood. The actual exposure to that angle will come up, because see, you have to look at it as from an emotional point will also always add weight. If everything is just numbers and businesses and economics, uh, you'll have to bring a different point. So they will definitely talk about uh, socializing not being there. It'll affect. So you'll have to think of a proper rebuttal for it.
Well, the socializing thing doesn't have to be in person. You can socialize online as well.
It's artificial.
Not exactly jumping
uh,
on each other when you're meeting, so
No, no, it is not. It's not the same as face-to-face interaction in school. It is not just
if
about
I
the
may,
child doesn't learn only physics and chemistry and maths in school. It's about social interaction, behavior. All that is a part of your education, which is not happening when you do this. You don't even, most of the times the videos are off. You don't even see the kid across. I mean, let's say that you can do interact over the virtual thing. So it has to be something really solid.
okay. Shreya, you were going to say something.
no, in the same line of socializing, it's different online because you don't get to pick out on social cues, body language, and things like that that you would usually have to pick up on while talking to to someone in person. And in the travel, on the travel angle, a valid point that might go against you is that at any case of emergency, it is terribly difficult to travel to just travel on a whim to see your family members and support them. And that might come up as a valid point since the travel rules are quite unstable and they keep changing all the time. So it's actually very uncertain if at any point of emergency you do need to travel to a different country at the pandemic situation. So that might come up as a point against you.
Shreya, just to add to your point, I think one point that both teams missed was mental health. It's a very up and coming topic, and it's something that COVID in general has greatly impacted. I mean, if you go onto Chrome and you search mental health during COVID-19, the first thing it'll pop up is a hotline for you to contact someone if you need help. So that drastic decrease in mental health around the world is one point that the other team might bring up if they're trying to look at all aspects, lack of socialization in real, like socializing in real life, that leading to decrease in mental health. So I think a counter for all of you would be to talk about the awareness that has been spread because of this around the world, and how more and more people are more looking at it more positively and reaching out for help. So instead of it being taken as a decrease in mental health, we look at it as spreading of awareness and people reaching out for help during this time to family members, to people they know can help them. So we just flip that around
And
and make it a
adding to that
positive.
point that she said, adding to what she said, a point in that same angle, a point you could use is that now we're more conscious of each other's mental health, which has caused us to connect to people we lost connection with before, and sort of go ahead on that angle of the individual, of us connecting to people to more people and checking on them regularly and sort of getting back in touch with people we had lost touch with before. And yeah.
That's something we can do. Toastmaster Sandeep, I think you've had your hand raised for a bit. Sorry.
No, no, no. I think between Sneha and Shreya, they've covered what I wanted to say. My only thing is that there will be definitely some emotional components of the opening speech of the opposition, for which rebuttal from, let's say, Hashim is going to be a bit tough. So for example, if I quote the uh, situation of thousands of migrant workers walking thousands of kilometers to get from their place, and how would you call that a blessing, whether in reality or in disguise? So these are, I think the numbers part are a little easier to rebut, and I think that's going by what Soumya mentioned and what the Gaviliers mentioned. I think we've got enough rebuttals for, but I think the key rebuttals from an emotional perspective will be the ones which will be a bit difficult, and we need to be ready to at least counter it in
Something,
one way or the other.
what I wanted is this migrant workers, which you just said,
Yeah.
and Hashim's emotional. It could be saying that it is only when there's no doubt that our sympathies are with those migrant workers and the problems they faced. But how many of us even knew about this problem before this happened? It has brought all these out to light. The plight of the migrant workers has come to light, and that is why you had so many people rushing to help them. So that social awareness has happened because of this. So that is why we are saying it's a blessing in disguise.
It's a very
Yeah.
strong point. It's a very, very strong counter argument. All right. So Robin has said the last debate is over. They should be calling him up in the next few minutes. Do we want to take a few minutes break and then come back? Unless there's any other points that you want to add. Samira and Hashim, I'm hoping you guys are taking the points down. It is being recorded.
After
I'm
this,
making notes as well.
after Surat was attacked by plague, okay, it was a wake-up call for that small city, and it transformed within a span of few years. So the pandemic is a wake-up call that has made us change our lives, and now we have all become aware of so many things. We are becoming more health. I think that Robin probably said that we are becoming more health conscious, and the like. So I think Hashim has to counter it like that probably.
Yeah, I think there are two ways we can do it. One is to Hashim to counter, and the other thing is maybe to for Samira at the end to package it that way. Right. We call it a blessing in disguise because this is a wake up call from which we have learned so much. And that is what my uh, opening speaker has proved to you. But this needs to have come up as at least one of the points which Robin has made earlier. If Robin just concentrates on the corporate world, then you will not get this opportunity.
Okay.
You know something, say like when you talk about the previous epidemics which have happened, okay, I don't remember any years or something to say that, but previous epidemics never had any positives to it as so as to say. But this, because it has attacked the whole world, there is a total new thought wave happening. So even if we are going through these unemployment, so on and so forth, so many problems now, a new normal, not just this digital transformation is happening, but in the entire outlook and our way of life. So that has come out of this COVID, which was absent in the previous ones. I don't know if I don't know whether I'm
No, it makes
putting
sense. Yeah.
thought across what I was trying to say. Like, suppose there was in India, there was a smallpox epidemic at some time. I'm sure nothing positive came out of it. They were only desperately trying to find a cure or a vaccine for it. Okay, but once we got out of that, there was no real everlasting change. Whereas this, because of the duration and the widespread effect it's had all over the world, it has, I mean, like, we'll have to harp on the blessing in disguise.
Yeah, I think one way, I think just going by what you just said, Soumya, maybe the way for the opening speaker then to do is that I'm going to talk about the blessings for three areas. One is corporate, second is social, and third is personal, and talk about how this has become a blessing in disguise for corporates, in which the whole model has changed. You talk about social, how this has become a learning for a government and multiple governments to act collaboratively to counter such crisis which has never happened before, obviously with appropriate examples. And then the third one, which is a personal or a more a social thing, and how it has enabled us to become more socially tuned and use of these kinds of things. So maybe if he structures it that way, it will become a much more powerful opening speech, very difficult to rebut.
Yeah. And see, there are things we would never have imagined of, but we are finding solutions to tackle all that. So this has opened those kind of seeking solutions. I don't know how difficult it's going to be to word it right.
We can, but again, we only have 3 minutes. We'll have to prioritize which
Yeah.
ones are
Yeah.
going to
Like
have the
as
most
Sandeep
impact.
said, 3 or 4 specific points. Like, the way Robin said it now, he had about 7, 8 points, of which 3, 4 were very similar.
Okay.
So make it into 4 concrete points.
All right. Okay, so I think Samira also just needed to step out for a couple of minutes, probably the baby. So maybe we take 10 minutes. Is everyone okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll take 10 minutes. I'll keep the meeting open. How's the Division I debate, Sandeep? Were you part of it?
Was there in the morning session.
Okay.
It's a marathon here.
I
It's
can
a
imagine.
marathon.
19.
19 clubs. I think by the time they finish, it's going to be at least 9:30, 10 tonight.
I remember the
Because
Division J
if
one.
yeah, no, and especially if Robin is being called now, it is about 1.5 hours behind schedule.
Wow. Okay. I was supposed to be there in the morning for judging. I ended up double booking. I ended up this one. I was the moderator at Friends of Yoga.
Okay.
So I ended up double booking. I had to step out.
No, it was about 1 hour delayed. So instead of finishing at 12:30, we finished at around 1:30. But the quality of debates was good. Quality of debate, and the topics were nice. Some of the topics were really nice there.
Okay.
I especially loved the last one where they said parents should be held accountable for their children's crimes. Very nice one.
Harsh.
Harsh, yeah, but it was good. It was a good set of things. But it is the only thing that I think that's the key thing, right? And I was telling Rupesh yesterday, the only set of people who need to be permanently on and tuned in are the judges.
Mm.
Everyone else can, switch off their videos, go take a walk, come back. But the only people who were there 5 hours were the judges. So it's actually a big strain on the judges.
Were the
I
moderators different, or is it the
The
same moderator?
moderators were no, the moderator every two debates they change the moderators,
Okay.
right? So as I said, other than the judges, everyone could basically switch off their videos, go have a cup of tea, coffee, move around, do whatever they wanted. I actually pulled Rupesh's leg yesterday. I think you have actually put us under tremendous, you have actually created this as a punishment for the judges.
What will happen is when he calls on the same people for division the actual contest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They might
No,
think
this is and I think somewhere along the line, we trying to do online what we were trying to do in a physical world. There is actually no real reason to do that. This they could have done as a kind of ladder. You remember the first time Division B did the debate,
mm,
where
this
you do
yeah.
an area level and then take only two teams. into the the division level, which is what division L is also planning to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only reason why we did not do it in the physical world was because to spare the areas the spend
Logistics, the cost. Yeah.
the spend, yeah, the cost, right? Because we were not getting that money. But now in a Zoom world, there is no reason to do that, and the areas can finish it in a, let's say, 1.5 hour meeting instead of spending uh, to basically go through this.
Fair enough.
Is Robin going to be back anytime?
Well, I'm checking constantly.
I have one more debater here with me.
He clearly wins.
Are you going to put him in instead of Robin as the opening speaker?
Yeah, he will make a very good opening speaker.
Well, he'll be hard to rebut. That's the.
Exactly. But he will lose. He has his own issues.
That sounded like a very strong protest.
Very, very, very strong rebuttal. How can you call this an issue?
We've lost Hashim also. Wonder where he went.
So
Samya,
Samira is
खुद के लिए
going to
चाय बनाया
open,
ना?
rebut, and close all in one go.
Yeah.
सौम्या खुद के लिए चाय बनाया, हमारे लिए?
Arey, yeah, just look, I'm having green tea. All the social what is this health consciousness because of this COVID. सब बोल रहे हैं exercise नहीं करती है, इतना चाय पीती है, so सब काट दिया.
Why are you not exercising? Why are there no videos? You're
Oh
supposed to be
God.
posting videos.
You know, please, I didn't know we are supposed to put up a video every day. एक दिन का था तो I would have done it. But every day I said, forget it, this is not my cup of tea.
Whichever days you put up.
I don't do anything, yeah, that's why.
You can say cooking is the exercise.
Actually, you know, I'm doing a lot more chores which are physical than I used to do before, but I can't call it exercise.
If you've seen some of the videos, you can definitely call it exercise.
Is it? I don't know. Which is the next topic?
I will tell you.
Marriage.
Yes, the institution of marriage is something.
Outdated. And we are for or against?
We are against. Interesting. We're going to have children arguing against marriage. This should be fun.
No, for marriage.
No, the motion is actually the institution of marriage is outdated.
So they are going for it.
Yeah, they're saying that it is outdated.
Yeah, no, I meant they are going to be speaking against marriage.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I guess that's what.
Yeah, that will do for them. No, that's how they will also believe, I think.
Coincidentally, they are all girls, so.
So you're saying what, Anu?
What I mean to say is, no, these girls are very homely. They may probably not want to say that.
I don't know the way they were. If the first debate is anything to go by, homely is not the word I'd use.
See, the minute you said that, Anu, Hema put her video on.
Yeah.
Is it true, Hema?
Yes, no.
There, see, one more came up. She says, how dare you say this to us?
Another one is laughing.
Anu, take back your words.
Yes, I need to. Girls, don't let me down, okay?
All the men seem to have hightailed. I think I will shut up for a while. Okay, Robin's not actually responding on the group, which probably means he is introducing. Ah, there he is, back here. Robin.
Hi guys, how are you? Is it okay? Am I too late or is it
No,
okay?
no. We've been waiting for Your Highness. Now we need to find the other. We need to find the other
Sorry.
one now.
See, I had to introduce the keynote speaker. He's all the way from California, so I had to be there. Okay, I'm here now.
Okay, but we've lost Hashim, so let me just give him a call.
Confident means we will never take anything for granted. We will never be found short in our knowledge or our skills.
Okay, he should be here in a minute. I'll just make sure all of you guys are here. Malvika, Sneha, and Sakshi.
I don't know if my father ever heard these words.
Sneha.
It's fine.
Perfect. So all three of you here. All right, Hashim's here as well. Hashim.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, so let's just get everyone else to mute their microphones because we will be starting with the Cavaliers. Okay, so Robin, can we just mute your microphone?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Malvika, you're opening. Okay, you're unmuted. Can you see the timer?
Yes, I can see the timer.
Perfect. All right. So the motion on the floor is the institution of marriage is outdated. And speaking for the motion to open the debate, we have Cavalier Malavika. Your 3 minutes starts now.
Marriage is a wonderful institution, but who wants to live their lives imprisoned in an outdated institution? Good evening, respected opponents, wonderful judges, and dear audience. My team and I strongly believe that marriage is an outdated institution. Let me first define the motion. Marriage is an institution that has existed in most societies around the world for an incredibly long time. It is traditionally the union between two people in a traditional, cultural, religious, or romantic sense. Moving on to our model, we as a team believe that marriage is a traditional, cultural, religious, and emotional practice more than a legal institution. We as a team wish to do away with the practice of the government having regulation over marriages when it is something that is obviously controlled by the religious institution. There is no point in the government having something like a marriage when they can simply put together a legal contract instead. Hence, we propose that the institution of involving the government in your marriages is outdated. To support this model, I present to you our team's points. Firstly, marriage does not guarantee stability in a relationship. The relationship between two people cannot and is not affected by the institution of marriage. In fact, marriage only provides a social view of stability, whereas statistics say otherwise. According to CDC.gov, in every 2 million marriages in the US, more than 700,000 end up in divorce as of 2018, which shows that 35% or more marriages end in divorce. Moreover, according to the most recently available statistics for the UK, 42% of marriages in England and Wales end in divorce, often with lengthy and messy child custody battles and monetary splits. Secondly, a family environment can be provided without marriage. A child can be raised with or without getting married.
What matters is the emotional connection between two people, which cannot and need not be determined by a document. The two people involved in the relationship are parents to the child and will be providing the child with all the necessary amenities, regardless of whether they are married or not. The psychological stress that a child goes through when his or her parents split apart is because of the breakdown of the relationship and bond and not the marriage. With these concrete points, I urge you to side with Team Affirmative and pass the motion that the institution of marriage is outdated.
Thank you so much, Gavile Malvika. Let's give both Soumya and Sandeep 30 seconds, make some notes. Robin, let's just reconfirm that you can see the timer.
Yeah, not presently. I hope I can.
Probably you can pin.
Yeah, now I can see. Now I can see.
Perfect. All right. So,
can you hear me? Am I audible?
Loud and clear. All right. To open this debate for the team that's speaking against the motion, let's welcome Toastmaster Robin Anand. Your 3 minutes starts now.
Good evening, one and all. Motion on the floor is marriage is outdated as an institution. We oppose the motion. Marriage will never be outdated. It is a sacred institution. It is no less important just because many people today tend to minimize and defile it. Let me ask you a simple question. Are we all not either married or at least born to a married couple? I'm sure no one here belongs to any other category. Marriage is the beginning of the family and is a lifelong commitment. It also provides an opportunity to grow in selflessness as you serve your wife and children. Marriage is more than a physical union. It is also a spiritual and emotional union. The principle of marriage has always been to provide stable home for the rearing of children, the best support system. Psychologically, scientific studies have found that cohabitation does not lend itself to as much psychological stability for a child. Regardless of the level of commitment between couples, society still recognizes marriage as an institution where most stability is gained. Roughly 40% of children being raised today are in home without a father. The effects of that facts are staggering. Father's absence causes increase in mental and behavioral disorders, as well as criminal activity and substance abuse. Legally, marriage represents more solid and protected base for both parties. In addition to protecting against inheritance disputes, loss of belonging, etc., if the couple breaks up, it also may provide stop check for separated couples who may decide to work harder at the relationship, being bound together by a legal contract as well as an emotional one. Family equals identity. Children born out of marriages have strong identity. With a traditional family, and identity of a child is able to develop. Identity is essential for vision, growth, and unity. Without correct identity, nations and communities cannot progress or develop unity because there are so many different identities and no common cause. Marriage statistics themselves show that 1 out of 3 marriages are remarriages. So, whilst the divorce statistics may be high, but this does not show lack of faith in marriage as an institution. Merely that divorce is easier and more acceptable, or couples are entering into marriage more freely than before. Marriage is still an important in society as a rational view of what a loving, committed relationship actually is. If love is so transient in society, it is important to have a foundation to hold couples together to realize this friendship. Now, with many countries supporting same-sex marriages, the institution of marriage is further strengthened. With the above arguments, we oppose the motion that marriage is outdated as an institution, and we want all of you to refute this motion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Robin. Let's give Soumya and Sandeep a few seconds. While we wait, Hashim, can you see the timer?
Yes, yes, I can see the time.
Okay. All right, let's
Yeah.
go ahead and start this. So to rebut on behalf of the team speaking against the motion, Toastmaster Hashim, you have 3 minutes starting now.
The topic on the floor is the institution of marriage is outdated, and my team and I firmly stand against this motion. Our worthy opponents started out by colorfully explaining how wonderful an institution marriage is. Indeed, it is. And she went on to elaborate that it has a tradition that has existed for time immemorial. And what has existed for time immemorial is because it has values and it has certain securities that are provided to the people, which is why it has stood the test of time and is still prevalent today, just as it was hundreds of years ago. She tried to hint towards the disconnecting a legal angle to a marriage from what the marriage is and only focusing on the traditional, emotional, and cultural aspect of it. This is a very skewed view of the marriage, and indeed, it is a legal aspect of a marriage that provides the security and the rights to the two partners involved in a marriage when it comes to various things, such as possession of the children, such as the houses or any other assets that they own. All of these are governed by a legal binding, which is why it is important to have your prenuptial and nuptial agreements, which give a legal angle to how legal a marriage actually is. The first point that she brought out was regarding the increase in divorce rates and the reduction in the marriage rates. This is not a complete view of the entire world. You have mentioned statistics from US and UK. That is not an exactly complete representation of the world. If you look at the very same report of cbc.gov that you have shown, you will see that marriage rates have increased in countries like China, in countries like Russia, which are all economically superpowers as well, in addition to a host of other Asian countries. So marriage is not an outdated, it is very prevalent and it is relevant in today's world. The second point that she brought out was that families can be had without marriage as well, and children don't need a document, only the emotion. A study put forth by the Indian Journal of Psychological Medicine has clearly singled out that single parenthood is a clear risk for mental health problems for the child and the adult. So we are not talking about the best possible environment that you can give for the child in the case of a single parent. That is why the institution of a marriage is as relevant as it was 100 years ago, even now, and moving forward for the sanctity and safety of the next generation. With these points, I believe I have defeated all the arguments that have been put forth by the opposition to this particular topic. And with this, my team and I firmly stand for the motion that the institution of marriage is not outdated. It is as relevant as it was hundreds of years ago. With that, I rest my case.
Thank you so much,
Back.
Toastmaster Hashim. Let's give DTM Soumya and Sandeep a few seconds. And in the meantime, Cavalier Sneha.
Yes, I'm here. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Can you see the timer?
Yes.
Okay, all right. We'll give it about 10 seconds. Okay, all right. Now, to carry out the rebuttal for the team that's speaking for the motion, Cavalier Sneha, you have 3 minutes starting now.
Good evening, respected Toastmasters, worthy opponents, and dearest Cavaliers and guests. Before I begin, let me mention that the second speaker of team opposition tried so hard to rebut our points, but managed to convince himself that our points are very much valid and that this motion is as much valid as well. Today, I will be rebutting a few points mentioned by the first speaker of team opposition. Beginning with their first question, are we all not married or want to be married? Talking about faith in marriage. Let me counter that by saying this generation and its people itself are choosing cohabitation over marriage. According to Atlantic.com, the recent study published proves that most people believe the legal and financial stickiness of divorce is actually a hassle, and that made them shy away from marriage. In other words, in the minds of the people today, benefits of marriage are not enough to counter the potential pain of divorce. About 2/3 of adults around the world favor allowing unmarried couples to enter into legal agreements, giving them the same rights as married couples, which brings me to your point of legal protection. The law incorporates enough protection for couples with common law marriages and various jurisdictions over inheritance and ownership without having to get married. You next quoted statistics about stable homes for raising children. From where were these statistics and how recent were they? Because I can counter by saying the only thing that marriage gains is a socially recognized sense of emotional stability. Divorce rates are indicative of a fact: if a relationship is doomed to fail, marriage cannot save it. Before questioning our statistics, please be more specific and concrete with yours, dear opponents. Moving to your sense of identity that you talked about for children, a sense of identity is not whether your parents are married, it's whether the two parents involved in the relationship, your mother and your father, or your parents, are in love, can provide a stable home for you, and can provide you with what you need to grow in a well developed environment. A marriage does not necessarily mean a good household. Cohabiting parents can also prove to be excellent parents for their children. Just because a tradition has existed for time immemorial does not mean it cannot be outdated in today's modern society. So many traditions have been refuted and changed by the modern generation who puts human rights and human choice before everything else. We as a team do not wish to defile the sacred institution of marriage. Instead, we choose to make it a choice and say that everybody having to get married in this world, in this age, is an outdated belief and an outdated tradition. And we as a team urge you to see this and pass the motion that marriage as an institution with legal benefits and financial benefits is outdated. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kavali Sneha. 30 seconds for our judges. Okay, Samia looks like she's done. So does Sandeep. All right, so Samira, you're unmuted. Can you confirm that you can see the timer? Can't hear you, Samira. Am I audible?
Am I audible, Vinod?
Now you are.
Hello?
Sorry, am I audible or have you guys lost me?
No, no. Am I audible?
Yes, you
Yes,
are.
both of you are audible.
All right. To the closing for the team that's speaking against the motion, Toastmaster Samira, you have 2 minutes starting now.
Dear members of the House, we strongly oppose the motion that marriage is outdated as an institution. Our opening speaker, Robin, beautifully described marriage as sacred, the beginning of a family, a lifelong commitment. It is an opportunity to grow and serve. The principle of marriage provides a stable home for the rearing of children, and family is the best support system. He compared the stability of marriage as compared to cohabitation. Statistics show that 1 out of 3 marriages are remarriages, showing the faith people have in marriages. He spoke about the psychological effect on children in a family bound by marriage as compared to those raised by single parents. In the legal front, marriage presents a more protected base when it comes to issues like inheritance. A family bound by marriage gives you the identity which is essential for vision, growth, and unity. The institution of marriage is now further strengthened, with many countries supporting same sex marriages. Our rebuttal speaker, Hashim, started by supporting the introductory point of view put forth by the opposition, where they stated that this tradition has stood the test of time, and they are right. He pointed the skewed view of the opposition and supported the legal contract involved in a marriage which decides on issues such as property, wealth, inheritance, child custody. Statistics represented by opposition does not represent the global scenario. He further pointed out that the statistics of countries like China and Russia shows otherwise. He concluded by saying that single parenthood cannot give the best environment for a child as compared to the sanctity and safety provided by a legally bound marriage. To conclude, marriage embodies a strong foundation that holds couples together to realize friendship, support, trust, and commitment. We strongly oppose this motion that marriage is outdated as an institution and urge the members to favor our stance. Over to you, moderator.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Samira. A few seconds for our judges. Kavli Sakshi, could you unmute your mic and confirm that you can see the timer?
Yes, I can.
Okay, you're loud and clear. Sandeep is okay. All right. All right. So to close out our second debate, speaking for the team that's speaking for the motion, Cavalier Sakshi, your 2 minutes starts now.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, Cavaliers, and my respected judges. Let me take you back to our model that Malvika mentioned. We believe that marriage is a traditional, cultural, religious, emotional practice more than a legal institution. We wish to do away with the practice of the government having regulation over marriage. Hence, the institution involving the government in marriages is outdated. Let's revisit my fellow teammates' points. Malvika mentioned that the institution of marriages existed in most societies for an incredibly long time. She continued to explain about how outdated it is, and what can I say? It's true. If you have forgotten, I'll brush up on the statistics again too. Malvika spoke about how stability of marriage is supposed to bring, but truly it does not for everybody. She added that more than 35% of marriages end up in divorce in the US alone, with a jarring 42% of decline in Wales and England. Her last point was the psychological and emotional impact on the relationship. Moving on to Sneha, who spoke about the only thing that marriage helps to gain is the socially recognized sense of emotional stability. And divorce rates are indicative of the fact that if a relationship is set to fail, the institution of marriage itself will not save it. Adding to that, the main reasons of marriage ending is monetary reasons, along with infidelity and constant arguing. Another main point that Sneha mentioned is about cohabitation, which is far more practical and avoids lengthy and expensive legal proceedings. And her most important point was that this generation alone is choosing cohabitation over marriage. She said that with evidence that over 2/3 of adults favor allowing unmarried couples to enter legal agreements that would give them the same rights as married couples. In lieu of other points and rebuttals, we as a team have clearly stated why the institution of marriage is outdated, and we urge you to support the 2/3 American population who agree that the institution of marriage is outdated and pass this motion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cavalier Sakshi. Big hand for all of the debaters. And between Toastmaster Soumya and Sandeep, who'd like to go first? I probably just wanted to ask Sanika, did you need to leave now? It's 5:30, so.
I leave in another 10, 15
Okay,
minutes
sure.
actually, so I can maybe stay till the end.
All right, no worries. So, Toastmaster Soumya, do you want to go first?
Maybe Sandeep could start since I did the first one. I did. Sandeep, we can't hear you.
Sorry, frankly, I missed the opening statement by Malvika. I picked it up when Robin started. So if you can start off, then we can continue.
I think she had a very good opening. It's very, very well paced. I think her points came out extremely well. That's something I really loved about the opening. The only thing I felt was the first point was a little repetitive. You took too long over that, where you said two people, traditional, cultural, that that entire thing, you repeated it a couple of times and the sentence itself was too long, so you would have lost time on that. You could have abridged that part a little. Second, you spoke about financial security. You could have given examples of countries which no longer ask for marriage. I think the partners get the financial security, but even if they are not married. So you could have brought examples of countries which are allowing that to support your statement. And the point 3, where you spoke about this stability, you had a lot of numbers there. There was a 2 million, there was a 700,000, then there was a 25% and a 42%, all of them for the same point. So you could have just stuck to 2 of them. You needn't give us so many statistics for the same point. But I think overall you did an excellent job. That was Malvika, is it? Who did the opening? Malvika, yeah. Robin, your opening, sorry, yeah, you had, your points were all very good, more logical, common sense points. which we would have thought of. Now, there were a couple of numbers statistics which you brought in, but they were not clear. Where you were talking about stable homes, you said something about cohabiting and you said a 40%. That 40%, what it was not clear. Since that was one statistics you brought, please make it very clear as to what exactly that stands for. Then you spoke about the legal, the inheritance, that was fine. The identity point was very good. The same-sex marriages and the one, and again, that 1 out of 3 remarry. I don't know, 1 out of 3 where. So a little more specific information, I think, would have been good there. So let me, Sandeep, maybe you would like to do Robin's opening.
Yeah. So I think the 2 points which were actually most of what you covered in from the strengths is fine. I think the 2 points from a weakness perspective was obviously the first statement of all of us here.
Yeah.
And I think that is something which always makes so that there are 2 things, right? So even if that point that you are making was true, if I were a rebuttal, I would basically says we are just 10 people in this room. The 10 people cannot be a representative of the bigger population, so we cannot use 10 people as a correlation into the world. So that was one weak point, and I think that's what Sneha picked up very well. And the other thing was obviously the remarriage point. Now when you are saying there is remarriage, that means there was originally a problem with the marriage. So if I were a rebuttal speaker, I would actually pick that up. So if you're remarrying, that means there was an original problem with the marriage. So it is, why would you even get into something like this? What I felt frankly was that most of the points Robin had were more emotional in terms of, because it is tradition, we should continue with it rather than something which was based on numbers. So I think we just need to work on that a little bit, and definitely take off that first comment on all of us here, or whatever. That sentence, the moment I heard that sentence, I knew that that was going to come up later on. So that is from my side, from an opening speaker from for Robin. Back to you, Soumya.
Um, then, in fact, that would have called for somebody cheeky could have said that, yeah, that probably the previous generation believed in marriage, it's no longer valid, it's now getting outdated for the current generation or something like that. Moving on to the rebuttal. Hashim, yes, you stood the test of time. That was good. The point on China, Russia, again, was good. The IJPM, the International Journal of that, I didn't get it. I think you were saying children of single parents. So what were you trying to say? The minute you say single parents, is it not saying divorce and going against your own point? I found that a little confusing. I'm not sure whether I caught it right. Okay, but otherwise, I think you had good rebuttal points. It has to provide security, and you spoke about having the prenuptial contracts for safeguarding it. Sneha's rebuttal, the only thing I could say, Sneha, were a little too fast. Okay, slow down a little. And the inheritance law, again, you could have given an example there. That you did say that now it's no longer, marriage is not required, and the law also has changed accordingly. So you could have given an example there. And the last point which you said, that we are not saying don't get married, but it should be a choice. That appeared like a new point to me, because you didn't connect it with anything that the opener said. So that would get construed as a new point. Sandeep, over to you.
Yeah. So first, talking about Hashim, I think the one some points very well done, especially the discrediting the research on the US and UK by proving about China and Russia. I think that's one way of a rebuttal. Discredit the research so that you basically take that strike out. The one on the single parenthood, I agree fully with you, Soumya. That did not have a place at all in the rebuttal, because we are talking about marriages and not necessarily a single parenthood. The earlier one also, the initially when you started off that the legal, it's a legal contract. I think that is something that Hashim did very well, where he talked about it is not only it is about ensuring that you have the rights of the legal rights and also the possession, and which can also be tightened by nuptial and prenuptial agreement. So I think from an overall perspective, very nicely done. The only missing point was the family's the single parenthood thing. The only thing from a delivery perspective which I found a significant difference between maybe Hashim was being polite because these were Gaviliers, but I thought Hashim, maybe some amount of that forcefulness needs to come in into your rebuttal, especially when you are in a position to counter the points in a little bit of a sarcastic manner or a cheeky manner. Going to Sneha's this thing, and I think that's what Sneha did rightly. Especially the first salvo that she fired with respect to the first statement Robin made, that all of us here are either married or basically products of marriage, and I think that rebuttal was the opening rebuttal, very nicely done and very cheekily done, which was what was very important. And also the other points with respect to two-thirds of the marriages to get into legal problems and the divorces. So all of those points where I think the rebuttal was nice, where you countered every single rebuttal, but as Soumya said, a bit slow, which is always something that trying to get too many things in, but otherwise nicely done. The one thing which is there, and I was anyway going to come up later on, is maybe the difference between what we as Toastmasters are doing and which what the Gaviliers are doing is the packaging. I think from an emotional perspective, from a delivery perspective, we seem to be as Toastmasters approaching this clinically rather than emotionally, or with the belief that with the kind of attitude that we really believe in this topic, or we don't. I think that is we are doing more of a clinical job, a 0-1 kind of a job, rather than a commitment job. I'm not sure whether I'm saying this right. I would Soumya,
No,
what's
I
your view on
felt the same thing. I felt it missing in both Robin and Hashim. The conviction in their voice was missing today, because I've heard both of them before. And I thought the same thing, that probably because they are against Gaviliers, they don't want to come across very forcefully. I don't know. But yes, I felt the lack of conviction in their voice, both of them. On the contrary, I think Samira had the right tone, and she had the right emphasis too. And coming to both the closing speakers, I think were amazing. I have absolutely nothing to say for either of them. There was nothing they missed out. They were extremely thorough. So I think there was nothing to say there.
Yeah. And again, just one point from me. I think maybe we should look at the recording again, and I would suggest that we do. Is that when Sakshi summarized, she packaged it in her own words, right? While Samira's uh, summarization was my opening speaker said, my rebuttal speaker said, the classic way we do it. I think we might need to just go back and see which we think was a better one, because if you look at the way Sakshi summarized, she mentioned all the points of the opening speakers, we mentioned all the points of the rebuttal speaker, but packaged it a little differently. I think
Yes.
that can make a difference to the way it is perceived from the audience.
Yes. In fact, the way she brought it, there was a little bit of cheekiness. There's a little bit of, without being insulting. It was very cutely done, I thought. The closing was brilliant. She, she wove in the points, but as Sandeep said, without just saying directly point one was this, point two was this, she managed to weave it in very well. True.
Okay. Gaviliers, your take?
Personally, I loved the debate. It was absolutely amazing. But few suggestions. I mean, if it's
Fire away.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Well, I just like to go over it. One thing I noticed was that although Toastmaster Hashim had a lot of statistics and they were quite accurately, sourced, there was a source, there was a year and statistic. What I noticed was in the first speaker's speech, in not all places, like the source wasn't always mentioned or how recent the study was. And although your study might be recent and it might be very credible, it's very easy for your opposition, especially if they're looking for it, to pick out on the fact that, you know what, you've not specified your source, so it's completely not credible at all. And on the flip side, it's something as a rebuttal speaker is very easy to see how recent the statistic is, because you have statistics from 1999 all the way to 2019. If you can, the easiest way to discredit someone's statistics is either discrediting the source, saying it's a tabloid and not valid, or discrediting the year. So since we're online, we do have the option to just search up the website that they mention. And if it's a tabloid website, with one blow, you can eviscerate all of their statistics, saying that their statistics are sourced from tabloids. And it's something that really makes a difference in the audience and the judges' eyes, because your statistics just aren't credible anymore. That's one thing. And I'd say otherwise the conclusion wise as well, personally, I would say you could begin with a 2-sentence summary of your team's perspective. Like what Sakshi did was she just summarized our team's entire case, I would say, in 2 sentences, and then went on with our points. That way you as a concluding speaker, without adding any points, are adding something different to the debate. Instead of just being someone who repeats the points again, you are adding your own touch to it, but not saying anything new. So that's just my opinion on the whole thing.
Another point which just occurred to me then, but I forgot to mention that when in the second debate, when she said 25% marriages end in divorce, I think Hashim could have got back by saying, but 75% are successful. So that shows that there is so much more validity for a marriage than a divorce. So since there was such a big gap between the failures and the successes, as you could say, that was something which can be done.
I forgot to mention this in my rebuttal, but the point of financial stability and the order of reasons for divorces, just one thing, because there's different sites, credible sites, saying that money followed by arguing and infidelity is the leading causes for divorce. And another website says something else. So we just might want to be a bit more careful if you're bringing that in. Just something I searched up. So if you're giving a financial stability point, I'd say be prepared if the other side finds this saying that financial stability is actually one of the biggest reasons for a divorce, which is what we found.
Okay.
No, it's good.
Very good point. The others, Sakshi, Malavika?
I think they did really well. The second speaker can connect the first speaker's points too, so he doesn't add on completely new points that aren't at all, connected with the first speakers. So yeah, because the second speaker did add the point of single parents and fathers leaving and something else. I don't remember the point, but instead of doing that, you can connect it and also state more valid points that are related to the first speaker's points. So
fair enough.
If I may, can I
Yes,
say?
Malavika.
I enjoyed the debate. Firstly, the only thing is that, as Sakshi said, a few points that actually gave away, like for example, remarriage, and as Sakshi said, the father leaving and single parenting. I think these points just gave it away for us. Like it actually seemed like at some point when you're saying remarriage and stuff, it's just supporting the opponents itself. So other than that, I think everything was fine. The rebuttal was really strong, which I really admired. So yeah, a few points that I think like accidentally just gave away, which could be really rebutted upon by the opponent. So I think that's
So maybe we can avoid that. You can't say that 100% of the marriages are going to work. isn't it? So you'll have to probably bring in that clause that the small percentage when it doesn't work, even there it has been seen that people go for remarriage.
So
So
isn't that
something like
the sorry, Sami. So I thought the way it was presented was that they're still not losing their faith in marriage.
exactly. Yeah, actually, that's what Robin said. He said the 1 in 3 remarry. It shows that the faith in marriage is still there. That's what he said. Yes.
Yeah. So is that really a bad point?
No. What I said was when he said 1 in 3, 1 in 3 where? It was
Okay.
a little unclear. Is it the world over or what? That is what I said was not clear.
Okay.
Also, one more thing with that 1 in 3 remarriage, that statistic, yeah, it was presented in a way saying that, okay, people haven't lost faith in marriage. But I'd say the debate is about marriage as an institution as a whole. And since we as a team already managed to rebut your point, saying that as far as the newer generation is concerned, there is no faith in marriage, by mentioning that point, it becomes a bit redundant. And I think it can be avoided. I mean, 1 in 3.
But Sneha, that was before you rebutted.
Oh, right.
That was
Okay.
before you rebutted.
But I don't think that's it has to be there. But otherwise, I think just frame it better than I guess.
Actually, also there's one thing that the point that Robin made was not about faith in marriage. It was actually either we are all married or we are born to couples who are married. So there was no point about faith in marriage in his opening line. Correct me if I'm wrong, Robin.
Yeah, in fact, I wanted to word it very strongly, but then there were Cavaliers here. So otherwise, I started like, for example, very clearly. Can somebody tell me who are the kids called who are born out of marriage? Can you please tell me that? And just pause. I think that would have have a much more impact. But of course, I can't do it to the Cavaliers. But I'm certainly going to do it to the opposition that's going to come. Let them answer that. That
No,
should
but
be.
how is that relevant though? How does it help your case?
Exactly.
No, my idea was that still in this society, you may say it is outdated, but nobody wants to be known being born out of a wedlock. I have not seen a single person saying, yes, I'm happy to be married to, I'm born to a unmarried couple, or I don't know who my father is. I don't think anybody wants to do that.
But Robin, then you are just making the marriage as a requirement to prove the child, right?
So it is
the
one of
children.
them. It is one of them. We are saying there are many more. First is the child needs a basic security of having a father and a mother. And in a society, he has a recognition. Because still, if you see majority of we are a little bit short on statistics and some studies which we'll add. But these are mostly the points. Now we will strengthen it with some more statistics, because we've got some very good ideas from what the Cavaliers spoke today. So we can really strengthen our arguments. So this was more to kind of create that impact in the beginning, because kids born out of wedlock is still a major stigma. So I wanted to highlight that.
I have to speak on this one. I'm so sorry. I'm a rebuttal speaker. It's in my blood.
Yeah.
I have to refute this point. Now, if at the moment you make this statement, you are, of course you don't mean to, but you are taking the risk of offending people in the audience. And on top of that, there is absolutely no need to ask, because this is a stigma, but to be honest, it's a stigma found more towards the eastern side of the world than the western side of the world, and that's very widely accepted. And when you bring it to a child not knowing who their father is, that's not valid, because we are talking about cohabitation, not single parenting. So it's very easy for your rebuttal speaker to pick on that and misconstrue your words to make it sound like you're being insulting. So I think let's just avoid the questioning statement at the beginning.
And we were trying to be nice to these girls. Shame on us. Sorry, Hema, you wanted to add a point.
Yes, sir. I think the points were amazing in the debate. Everything was elaborated perfectly. But according to me, in a debate, apart from the points, your attitude and your eye contact is really very necessary. And how you say, and I think Toastmaster Robin, sir, had his eye contact somewhere else. He was seeing somewhere else. While he was speaking, he was probably reading from somewhere else. So I think the eye contact, if you add it well, it's nice, because it adds that attitude for your opponent team, which also makes a lot of effects apart from your points.
Thank you. That's a good point. Actually, I was there two places at the same time. That's why I had to do that. I was on a computer and the mobile both. But yeah, it's a good point. I will make sure I'll keep my eyes glued on.
Yes, sir.
All right.
You-
Any last? Yeah.
you know, yeah, if
Hashim.
I may add a couple of things. Couple of things that probably we didn't cover in today's debate on marriage is, we never touched upon the extravagant wedding expenses in India. We probably domestic abuse in marriages which are forced, etc., are probably reasons why people would not go for marriage or go for something else right now. How relevant do you think those topics could be, or do
No,
you
I
think
don't
those
think
could
so.
come up in?
Celebration extravaganza doesn't have anything to do with this because you can have a marriage without all that. So I don't think that will makes a relevant point, Hashim.
Yeah,
Yes,
both
domestic
both those
abuse.
both those will not be really, see, if your opponents, and this is something that your opponents will come up with, right?
Sorry, yeah,
Not really you.
I meant if our opponents come up with these for the
Yeah.
rebuttal part of it. I'm doing the rebuttal part.
Yeah, actually, Hashim has a point about this domestic abuse can be used as a rebuttal, right?
It cannot be. No, there is irrespective. See, the one, firstly, the domestic abuse is irrespective of whether it's a marriage or not. How is it relevant only in an
You can do
institution?
that as a rebuttal for a security point. See, if they say a marriage offers security, okay, stability, security and stability at the cost of domestic abuse, how successful is that marriage? Right?
No,
And you'll get statistics on that.
no, I think we're going against, because Hashim is trying to prepare to refute those points if the opposition brings them up.
See, yeah, I'm getting a little confused here. We are speaking against.
Yes.
Yes, we are speaking against. We are defending marriage as an institution.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
are
So
saying
you're in the same
relevant.
position as we are now.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Same thing.
So we are defending marriages.
Yes,
so
yes.
So the thing is, if there is domestic abuse, if you're not married, it makes it a lot easier to get out of it and end the abuse. So you're going to have to.
This is a
It's
rebuttal
easier
point
to
for
get
the
out of it.
opposition. Correct.
Yes, it's for the opposition. Yes.
Yeah.
See, one more point I was thinking, when they were talking about the other legal arrangement, which I don't know whether the other team will do that, because this was quite an ambitious stand to take, that there is actually an option available, which actually right now, if you look at it and look at the whole world data, I don't think there is a parallel system available apart from cohabitation, but that is not legally protected. It's legally protected only very few countries. So possibly if we can have that data handy, Hashim, it could be useful. So if somebody talks about any other system, we can say we are talking about handful of Western countries who have protection for the other arrangements like cohabitation. Rest of the other countries still only give legal protection for married couples, something like that. That could be useful.
Yeah, got it.
Wait,
Yeah,
can I ask you all a question? So being a parent is about providing a safe and loving home for your kids, right? But it's not about having a spouse or a contract. So what do you guys think about it? Like all the Toastmasters.
No, so actually, can you please repeat? I didn't get your question.
Oh, right. Okay. So I said that all of you were agreeing to the fact that you need a legal contract or you need, a spouse to provide a loving home for your children. But do you believe in that?
You're talking to people of a different generation. Yes, I believe in that.
And plus, legal does have a lot of standing, because tomorrow you could meet with an accident. You need some cover in terms of having a legal representation, and that is extremely important for people who are left behind. So I think we could bring that point. Maybe in my intro I could have that as a line where marriages, when you're no longer there, you need some protection, and that's what legal system does for you.
But there's so many single parents or same-sex parents that do a way better job than some two parents together.
That's where we'll have to bring in the statistic on
Yeah,
percentage.
some statistics has to be there. We'll try and dig out something, because I'm still sure that, given statistics will be more in favor of marriage, because all the other things are more again a Western culture. Still Eastern and most of the other countries, do not have the cohabitation as a legal option.
Robin, but suppose you word it as, if you see countries like this have already
Yes.
passed a law where cohabitation is allowed. So the world is moving away from the institution of marriage. It's becoming outdated. You could very well word it like that, that these countries have already done it. So many are considering it. That's
No,
what
so
the
this
whole.
will be no. This, Soumya, again, this will be by them who want to oppose marriage as an institution. We are defending it. So
I
I
This
know.
will
would
be by the
I would
opening.
have to
This will
say,
be.
About the opening, I'm talking about how will you think of a rebuttal for that? I know.
okay.
Now I've got my teams right. So
Yeah.
it's
So basically, I
talking
think
about what
if we
Sakshi
can
said.
proactively dig out the statistics on how many countries actually have legal protection for cohabitation, that
Correct.
means all the others don't have. So that could be a good figure to have.
And
Yes.
and basically taking that step one step further, you basically say if this was such a great thing to do, by this time majority of the countries would have already adopted it.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
that's said for a lot of different things around the world, which hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, yeah.
But but one rebuttal for all of you. I'm surprised it didn't come up. Spousal privileges. It's a very simple legal term, which is widely prevalent in America, especially, and UK to an extent. It's getting there. It's a bit more legal, but I mean, if you look at it from a legal perspective, it's more about spouses not being forced to testify against each other and a bit more not being able to incriminate each other. But even in day to day, there's financial, taxation benefits as well, which I'm surprised nobody mentioned. But just using the word spousal privileges is a good enough rebuttal. So just wait for your affirmative side to mention that there is no legal benefits or financial benefits. And then your first rebuttal would be, I have two words for you: spousal privileges. That's your rebuttal. That's literally all you need to say. I just remembered it from a series I used to watch. So thought I'd bring it up here.
So
Watch.
defense for TV viewing is good.
No, it's an actual thing. It's an actual thing, spousal privileges.
No, I'm saying for the next debate, which says that serial viewing is not good, you have a point ready.
Yes.
But I think still cohabitation rules are quite strict. You need to spend, I don't know, number of years. I think it is 7 or 8, something like that. You don't just get any cohabitation rights if you're just with a partner for, few years. So that is something we should probably be a little bit
Australia
more
has
prepared.
something different. Maybe Vinod would know.
The de facto thing there, it's actually 2 years, I think. If you need to apply for your residency and prove de facto status, you need to provide at least 2 years of proof.
This
But yeah,
is with marriage you're talking about.
no. De facto is without. So just
Okay,
basically
okay.
like a live-in relationship.
Okay. But that's not recognized in many countries. I don't think in Middle East and all it is recognized.
Definitely not. No, it is. But then again, the Middle East is probably a lot
No, so
smaller
I
in
think
terms of.
stats will help, I think if we can really
For
go
sure.
stats in terms of, how many countries actually have it, then we can just lay it bare and say, yes, true. But this, we are talking about US and UK and a few handful of Western countries, which account for just 10% of the population. We are talking about, the world population and not just the US and UK population.
Right.
Many people that might, apply for the de facto thing, it might be to like adopt a kid or, to give their tax or, I mean, sorry, not tax, but inheritance to the person. But I mean, otherwise you can still be in a cohabitual relationship without doing that. I mean, it's still really relevant and it's happening all around the world. So I don't think that's important unless and until you want to adopt a kid or inherit that thing.
So Sandeep, you seriously think that the offensive part in the beginning could be risky?
No, it's just something which which we can. There are two ways to do that, right? One is basically if you word it the way you worded it today, I could basically say that we are not. You asked a question, but we are not representative. So that's a more decent way of doing it. But the more offensive part, as Sneha mentioned, you can put some people off.
Hmm.
right? And then your whole
No, if I
if
just put my rebuttal speaker off, my job could be done. He could focus on doing
Yeah,
some
but if
loose
we put
facts.
the judges off, then our job will be done. So it depends
Yeah,
on
that
who
is
we
also
put on.
true. And I think Toastmasters are not very kind to offensive things.
I don't really care about the rebuttal speaker. I care more about the judges. So
Yeah,
yeah,
Robin, even if it's coming from you, they're not
Yeah,
going to be.
I understand.
Toastmaster
We will
Robin's
avoid it.
suggestion for an introduction, why not begin by painting like 2 sentences, right? Imagine a financially and legally stable relationship where you and your partner can provide for your children so they grow up to be well-rounded individuals with a sense of identity. That is what marriage as an institution is. I think and then you jump in with your points. So something, again, this is just from the top of my head, but if you can take 2 sentences and frame it this way, we are avoiding offensive comments and also avoiding rebuttals back at
It's a
us.
good point. I think majority of us come from good families, so I think that should click.
Robin, you're inviting trouble by saying that we come from good families. I'm surprised these kids didn't pick on that. I can see, look at them.
Thankfully, our opponents are not Gaviliers. So we can relate to them, I suppose.
I think I'll need to exit now.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
we
it's a
all
good.
will.
Thank you so
I
much to
think
all of you.
I think from my suggestion, Robin and Hashim, I think Samira is gone, but my summary suggestion is that we bring in that emotion into your voices. I think your
Delivery.
attitude,
Okay.
your attitude has to have that. And I think I just saw the last closing speech which Hema did, and I think that is the level of emotion, and even these three speaking, that is the level of emotion that needs to come out of your speech.
Yeah. Okay. It has to really be forced now.
Yeah, it has to be, and I think we are so used to doing it clinically, right? We more zero and we become more 0 and 1 at the moment. But I think that
Sandeep, the kids had no qualms, okay? They were being forthright. I think the men were being gentlemanly and they were trying to talk. I could sense that from the beginning. So I think, because I've heard both of them and they can be very emphatic and they can be very strong in the way they deliver. But I have the feeling that they didn't want to do it because they were gabblers.
Yeah, plus it's a very sensitive topic because I think it is a little bit sensitive, so you don't want to go
Robin, what
overboard
is
on this.
sensitive about not getting married? You're telling these kids it's sensitive. Oh my God.
Sneha just gave you a new terminology right now. Just have you ever heard of those 2 words before?
Never.
I have, but I've never used them.
Wow. Okay.
Anyway. Okay, guys. Okay.
Anyway, good. Thank you
you.
so much for all your
Thanks.
perspectives. We will keep this in mind, and we all invite you to come and have a look at what you've done to our debate. Hopefully, we improve and we do better.
That's tomorrow, right, Robin?
Yes,
Yes,
it's
tomorrow,
6
yes.
to 8.
It's tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have one night to sleep over this.
This is take debate just in time prep.
Yeah.
Okay.
As always.
So Robin, you
Always,
just
guys.
did the opening address at Division I, right?
What's that?
You just did that one opening address at the Division I contest, no?
Yeah. I had to introduce the keynote speaker, so that's why I had to
The
go
debate
in.
going on there now. The topic is marriage has lost its purpose.
Oh, is it? Oh, then I should
Go,
leave it.
run.
That's a good idea.
All right,
Oh, that's a good
Malvika,
idea.
Sakshi, Shreya, Sneha, Hema, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and all the
Okay,
best,
take care.
everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much,
All of
everyone.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Tommy and
All the
Sandeep, you
best
too.
for tomorrow.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.